Welcome in to another lovely edition of The Meltdown. A number of us went to go see The Fall Guy a day early in the theater. We will have our non-spoiler review of the film that stars Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. Pick Your Picture will divide us up into separate theaters as our personal flavor profiles will be unveiled and discussed in that segment. Netflix has made a huge announcement today about the release structure of one of their most supported series, and another list will be featured here on the show that highlights the very best stunt work seen in cinema over the years. It's all happening on The Meltdown, presented by MyBookie and broadcasting live from the Culver studio.
Two big boys in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know to make sound. A meltdown, it's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown, let's start the show.
We call this lovely land Meltdonia, and we are so happy to have all of you lovely Meltdonians here with us daily, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. I am your host and your captain here on this chartered flight across Meltdonia, Tim Melton, back in studio with us for the very first time in a very long time. That is the other half of the Meltdown, Mr. John Lunceford, who I'm convinced is going to look like the Jack Nicholson Joker. He does not. He looks actually put together really well.
Whoa. Thank you.
I imagined when
Thank
you were
Thank you.
given a mirror that was the scene. You just looked at yourself, you laughed, and then smashed it
No.
across the operating table.
Everybody, I feel like, wanted my nose to look different.
It doesn't.
It was all internal, everything that happened. People use this as an excuse to get a nose job a lot of times. I like my nose. I think I'm perfect just the way I am. My mother told me so. But
She knows what she's talking about.
yeah. No, I'm back. My nose still very much hurts. I'm still leaking a little bit. So if I pull a tissue out, I'm sorry. But yeah.
Just the word leaking makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What have you kind of been through the past few days? Can you sum it up for us in a very PG way? Some people have just had their lunch.
Yeah, they showed the video in the next round. I won't show it to people here because we all just ate. But basically, I think the doctor said he cut like 1.5 inches of cartilage out of my nose because my nose was out of whack. I can breathe now.
Does this mean you won't sneeze as violently anymore?
I have sneezed a fair amount since yesterday getting the splints out. I only sneezed once the entire time. I think I had them in for 6 days almost. And I only sneezed once. It was kind of a miracle. But my sneezes haven't been as violent, but I've also tried to be cautious because I know like how violent my sneezes can be, and I don't want to blow my nose out. I'm still healing, even though they pulled the splints out. But basically, I had a splint that was about like you can't really see. I'm turning the wrong way. About that high up in my nose, and they went and pulled them out. It wasn't as gross as I thought it was going to be. Honestly, watched some videos of people getting them out to see like, oh, are they in pain when they're getting them out? There were some that were a lot grosser than mine, but yeah, I don't know. It's good to be able to breathe, and I'm still recovering. The leaking is like obviously there's a surgery that happened up there.
So I wish you quit using the term leaking. I don't like that term.
So it's still a little bloody now, every now and then, but you know what? That's what happens with surgeries.
Well, we're all thrilled to have you back. I do have to ask, as the competitive spirit that you are, did you happen to watch Triple Threat Trivia yesterday play out? Because 3 people were going to try to take something away from you, and that is a very active title shot that you currently have locked up against Spud for next week in Meltdown Triple Threat Trivia, and these 3 competitors want to actually be the one to dethrone Spud instead of you. Did you happen to watch your competitors fight against one another?
I watched something yesterday. I don't know that I would call it trivia. It was not very good, what I watched yesterday, but you know, Spud is by, far and away the best at Triple Threat Trivia. He has proven that by winning multiple titles and everything. I have won every number 1 contenders match I've been in, and I have won a title as well. I would say I'm the clear number 2, and then after that, it kind of falls off the face of the earth with everybody that competes, including the 3 that competed yesterday.
One of those competitors is Tyler, who's live producing the show today for us. Tyler, welcome back into the show. It doesn't sound like John has a lot of respect for your game.
It doesn't. he didn't have respect for my list either. I'll remember that.
That is true. John, you sort of took exception to the way Tyler conducted himself while you were out as well.
I mean, literally, I turned the show on Monday. I mean, I'm not like, in a coma or anything. I still watch the show. And I see that Tyler has given a multiple page, by the way, contract
Yes.
to you to sign. I have never made you sign a contract. We simply do this show out of the goodness of our heart and the love of entertainment and media. And yet here, I mean, this is lists of demands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My name appears in here multiple times. I wasn't even here to defend myself and to fight back against this contract. And then old Lionel over there just decided to come in with whatever he wanted to. So this is all I have to say about this contract. This contract is now null and void. It means nothing. And that's it. Tyler didn't even sign it, by the way. Only Tim signed it, so it was void anyway.
You'll be hearing from my legal team.
I really wish you would not have. I do love that line, Tyler. I wish you would have not done that because one of us is going to have to pick all that up, and I assume it will not be.
It will be Lionel.
It will not be.
No, it won't.
He will not be picking it up. I promise you that. Hey, Tyler, you got a chance to meet Boomer last night, who I'm sure will be in the chat if he survived what was a screening of The Fall Guy. He was having a good time last night in the theater. We were always happy to run across Boomer in any setting, but especially at the movie theater as he plans to see multiple movies this summer. You could hear him in the back of the theater cheering and whistling and being very excited. He has a scoring system that is rated out of beers. He rates out of 6 beers what he thinks of the movie. I don't know why 6 is the number, but
6-pack.
This is a 6-pack.
I got it. But these are tall boys that he was not buying with the little connector. These were all singles. What did you think of that experience, getting a chance to meet Boomer? It's always great meeting our fans face to face.
Yeah, shout out to Boomer. It's always great meeting someone from the chat and being able to put a name to the face. And I was just sitting at the bar waiting on a drink, and Boomer comes up, introduces himself, and buys me a drink. Now, he also said he was going to make fun of me on the show for my drink, so I'm going to give him and everybody in this room the opportunity for it. It was vodka, cranberry juice, and Sprite.
I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm
a vodka guy.
Tyler being the businessman he is. When Tyler goes to a movie theater bar, he walks up like he owns the place. He sits there, he gets comfortable, he's stirring it, and it's really an impressive thing to see. Rockstar, I hope at some point you get a chance to see it in person because he's a whole different character.
I've seen it because we went to a movie together when we saw the Civil War. And he went to the bar and got his little drink with his stir stick.
So you got to see it.
And you got to compliment it with some pretzel bites, which was awesome. He offered me a pretzel bite, and I started laughing. I was like, "No, thank you. I got my popcorn."
I think Tyler should be the next James Bond. That's my current vote.
Well, I put it in the little Dune box. It's in the Dune bucket to put him as next Bond. Lionel.
So we pull it out.
Lionel Bond.
It'll just have him as James Bond. I got a question for you, Rockstar. I've wanted to ask this for a while.
Please.
Do you enjoy writing? Does writing make you happy? And I'm not just talking about writing music. I'm talking about, do you enjoy writing short stories? Do you enjoy writing any sort of reports? Have you ever enjoyed the writing process? Has it ever been something that you've found joy in?
I like the part where you start, and I like the part where you end. I don't like the middle part. The middle part stresses me out, either writing a bit for the show or either writing a song. I'm too judgmental of myself. There's a lot of songs I have since like 8th grade that I have not even finish because I'll read it like 2 weeks later going, oh my God, those are the stupidest, cheesiest lyrics, and get rid of it and then just shelf it. Same thing with the bit where I think, oh, this is a funny concept, and I'll start getting into the meat of it going like, this is going nowhere, and it's not, I can't even think this is funny. So it's stressful, and I was always thinking like a dream job and a nightmare job for me would be SNL, because you have to push and stay up, and like to keep your job, you got to get your skits on, and it's just like, I can't, if I struggle doing one a week during football season, come up with 5 skits a week to try to come on the air would just kill me. So yes and no.
So everything but the writing you enjoy about the writing process.
The beginning and the end. Once it's done, it's a great feeling. It's
right.
But like being creative, I like being creative. Improv is easier than writing to me because it's easy. Just like, I was just making it up as I went. If it's good or bad, I was just making it up.
Fair to say you're your own worst critic, that there's no judgment that can be passed on you that's worse than...
People would criticize me. I'm very sure that people criticize my work. So I'm one of the top 5. I'll say that.
Okay, top 5. So you make the Lunce's list of critics.
No, he told me.
Rockstar critics.
As he was leaking.
We have a number of you in the chat right now. Leaking is a term I don't want to use the rest of the show.
Dripping.
I actually prefer leaking now. Leaking is better than dripping. We got Jam and Jeff back here on the show. We have seen each other a lot this week.
Yep.
And the first time we saw each other this week, it was for the 45th anniversary re-release of Alien, which we saw. It's a movie you seem to really love.
I like it.
And you were pretty excited about it throughout. Tyler's the one who ended up putting this movie in the popcorn bucket, and Alien is the one we randomly drew the week it comes back out in the theaters. Do you think it held up on the big screen? Because Tyler fell asleep in his first screening of it.
I went to see it again. I told you that.
And I said in the first screening. I didn't say in every screening. I said in the first screening.
Yeah, you weren't.
It wasn't as good as I
second
expected. I had my hopes up. I thought it was going to be like a great experience, like watching Terminator 2 on the big screen, because I really enjoyed that. And it was good, but it didn't really meet my expectations. And you and Carla being disappointed didn't help things either.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Jeff is my brother-in-law. My sister's name is Carla, and we all went out to see Alien on Monday. And it's a slow burn for sure. It's more atmospheric, but we will have a full retro trailer reaction for you on that next week. We've pushed it due to John looking like someone who has encountered an alien. Leaking earlier. There's a lot of leaking.
In that movie.
A lot of dripping.
I did enjoy it, but I just had a little bit higher hopes for it being. I'd never seen it on the big screen.
So would you say the best movie you've seen in a theater this week was the new movie, The Fall Guy?
Fall Guy, absolutely.
Which is based on the early 80s television series of the same name, loosely based on that, about stunt performers. It follows a stuntman working on his ex-girlfriend's directorial debut action film, only to find himself involved in a conspiracy surrounding the film's lead actor. The film stars Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Hannah Waddingham, Teresa Palmer, Winston Duke. I couldn't pronounce the last name. Stephanie who?
I think it's Zoo, but I don't know.
It may be.
I don't know.
That's why I was going
to
to skip
It's the one that was the daughter and everything overall.
When I looked at you, you knew what I was doing, and I knew I had to give myself up.
I didn't recognize anybody except
Just
Emily
nominated for an
Blunt
Oscar.
and Ryan Gosling.
But the movie worked for you. You really enjoyed
absolutely
it.
did. It had some throwbacks, some call-outs, some things blowing up, some bad jokes. So it was what I got.
A lot of bad jokes. We agree on that. Lots of bad jokes. If you saw our out of the theater reaction that's featured there in the shorts category of our YouTube channel, you know that I was not a fan of this movie. I did not. I think you looked over at me probably 10 times during the movie, and I don't think I laughed once.
Yeah, I was partially looking to see your reaction to that, and also the person beside us.
Explain that, because I have a theory that the person sitting next to you in that movie was the same person sitting next to Tyler in Challengers. And I want to see if we can piece this together.
All I can say is she felt like she had to make some noise to be part of the experience, whether it was the laugh that seemed like she was kind of in pain, or the uhs and or I can't believe they did that. You know, she was having a conversation with the movie.
I think at one point, did she say, "Oh no, you didn't," or "Oh
I think
no,
she
they
did.
didn't"?
I think she might have said that more than once.
She was being very vocal.
She was.
And then here's the funniest part. Halfway during the movie, you can tell Jeff is becoming a little bit frustrated at the fact that she's doing all this talking. Jeff leans over to me and says, "This is why I watch movies at home." But shortly after that, maybe the woman heard it. She got up and moved a seat over from Jeff. Just one seat over.
I was about to change seats if she hadn't of those.
It's probably because the guy that sat next to her last week got up and moved a seat over away from her.
And I want to know if this is the same person that did the chanting.
Yeah, what was this person's behavior like during the trailers?
She
got there like right as the movie was coming out and the credits were stopping to roll, and she leaned over and she said, "Did I miss anything?" I said, "No."
No, it just started.
And I was kind of thinking when she said that, I was like, "Are you going to be like this the whole movie?" And yes,
she was. She was. But
she was friendly, but
I'm convinced it was the same person you ran into last week.
It might have been.
Now, I want to get into this real quick. It's more on the business side than it is about The Fall Guy, a movie I did not like, by the way, and don't recommend. I think everyone else had a good time with it.
Literally everybody else in the room.
Everybody else had fun.
It is one of the most painfully unfunny movies I've ever seen. I didn't laugh. I don't think one time. Honestly, I don't think one time.
How about a hearty exhale through the nose? Anything like that?
No, I did not go through that. Which, by the way, if John does that, it could be medically dangerous. So please do not do a hearty exhale through the nose.
Laughed instead.
Look, hey, there was one part in the movie last night before we get to whatever you're about to say they made multiple Fast and Furious references because it's all
Yeah.
about stuntmen. Obviously, there's a lot of stunts that go into that. And then my senior quote in my senior yearbook was the quote from Vin Diesel, where he said, "It doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or by a mile. Winning is winning." He's like, "Ask any true racer," and then he says that quote. That was my senior quote in my yearbook, and that look Tim was making. It seemed
You
like
have to say it like Vin Diesel. If you're going to say the quote, you got to say it like him. That's Sylvester Stallone you're doing.
he sounds a lot better in the first one when he says that. But my wife made the exact same face that Tim did when I said that. But he said, like, I think it was Ryan Gosling and Winston Duke were going back and forth, and one of them said that. And then I think Ryan Gosling said that, and Winston Duke's like, Fast and the Furious. And I was like pointing at the screen. I was like, turned to my wife. I was like, that's Fast and the Furious. And he's like, that's Fast and the Furious. And I turned around because Tim and Jeff were sitting right behind me. I turned around, and Tim has a look on his face like, I'm about to murder everybody in this entire place.
That's how he looked the whole time.
And I'm like, I literally turned back around and said, well, Tim's not going to like this movie to my wife.
Well, I saw when they did the Fast and
That was
Furious
like 5
bit,
minutes into the movie when that happened.
every now and then they do a bit on the screen, and you and your wife would lean in. Now, normally I'm on the other side of the theater, okay? So I'm not distracted by your physical body language during the movie.
And you
because
will
I've sat
now
on the other
continue
side.
to be on the other side of the theater.
But my seats were taken for this one by the time I booked my tickets because I only had so many reservations. So I had to sit right behind you. And I noticed every time something came up that was like a Luncefordism, you guys would connect and talk. And this was the one time where you turned around and you caught me reacting to watching you guys react. And I did have a bad
You
look.
look so disgusted because it was a Fast and the
I
Furious.
was disgusted
something, and
with
I
the
was
whole
like,
experience.
Tim's not going to like this movie.
It was not funny. It was painfully unfunny. I thought the one saving grace would be that these two main actors had a bunch of chemistry because I've seen that all throughout the press tour. I didn't even feel it on the screen during this. I felt like their scenes of back and forthisms were painful to watch. I did not enjoy this at all. I hope you enjoy it. I'm glad that they enjoyed it. I would love to know more feedback once people get a chance to see it this weekend, maybe on Monday's show, whether or not you felt the same way or you felt like it was a completely enthralling time there. This is a film in The Fall Guy that has box office projections ranging from somewhere in the $20 million range all the way to the $50 million range. It's all over the board. The consensus right now is $35 million opening. Where do you think this one lands this weekend, John, with people rushing back out to the theaters? Because April was a dud with people going to the movie theaters.
It's the thing is, we're technically in the summer months as far as what they consider, because it's May through August is what they consider the summer blockbuster months. But really and truly, I feel like if you don't have a Marvel movie in this weekend, which is where something like Guardians would have released, or like the week before is where like the Avengers movies have released and stuff, you really don't pick that up until Memorial Day, because that's that first holiday weekend. School's out for everybody. You're not really to that point yet. So if this had come out a month from now, then if you got up to the $50 million range, I could potentially see it here. Before he said any number, I would have guessed 25, and I guess that's on the low end from what people are saying, but I'll probably stick with it, I guess. It's had decent reviews. I think it'll have okay word of mouth of like it was cute, you should go see it, which I think is a good review overall. It's better than what you're giving it, but I mean, that's enough to at least get people to go see it in the theater, even though they may not ever go see it again.
You could argue it's a romantic comedy. You could argue it's an action comedy. The action didn't work for me. The comedy didn't work for me. The romance didn't work for me. So I don't know what else I'm supposed to get out of it.
Could you argue that it's a bad movie?
I could argue
All
that.
right, I have no interest either.
I thought it was a fun movie that didn't take itself too serious.
Yeah.
It
I have
definitely
no desire to ever watch it again, but I'm glad I went to go see it. It was good to see it in the theater.
glowing
'cause-
review there.
But I mean, there's a million movies I could say like that, and it's not going to be a top 10 of the year, but it's not a bottom 10 of the year. It's like, because there are explosions, it's cool to see in the theater as opposed to watching it at home, unless you have people sitting next to you, like you and Tyler have had the last 2 weeks. But I mean, it's fine.
There was only
Go see
one film in all of April that debuted to over $25 million, and that was Civil War. The Fall Guy cost $125 million to produce. That's not including the marketing budget, which feels like this movie's been everywhere. It's been marketed like a legitimate summer release. It's being heralded as the kickoff to the summer season. And what the Fall Guy will benefit from more than anything is there's really not a lot of competition. Challengers was a weak number one. $15 million. It's not going to grow in that department this coming up weekend. So this is a movie that's primed to get all of the attention, have a great per theater average. It's got a lot of buzz behind it. It's going to be one that draws in couples. it's not going to draw on the family crowd, but it's going to draw a lot of young adults and a lot of older adults even to go see this, because there are those that have that connection to the 80s television series, like Boomer, like Jeff, that really want to see if this delivers. And there are moments of fan service in this that will deliver for diehard fans of the Fall Guy television series, even though it's not a direct correlation to what that show was.
I think it had some things in common with the Roadhouse remake, like just kind of some throwback, some mindless action, a little bit more like romance relationship in it. But
I think with the way that it was being, and I'm going to get probably beat up for saying this, but the way it was being presented, its story, I thought it would fall into a category where it could be considered a part of the same genre as something like Tropic Thunder.
My wife said that a million times.
I thought it did. It made me think of Tropic Thunder a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I did not expect it to go the places where Tropic Thunder went, and it didn't. It plays it completely the opposite, completely safe, trying to be romantic instead of trying to be raunchy. Tropic Thunder is a unicorn. It will never, nothing like that will ever hardly exist again, I don't think. We'll see.
Do you think Fall Guy would have been better if Simple Jack showed up?
I think that
Tropic Thunder is a unicorn. You cannot make a movie like that and have it be successful at all.
No, I agree.
Even if Tropic Thunder didn't exist, I don't even know you can make Tropic Thunder right now and it would work.
You can't do Tropic Thunder 2.
It's the time, the place, the actors, every single aspect of that just happened to hit absolutely perfectly.
The last time you could get away with it. All of everything they decided to do there.
Right.
For the sake of comedy, right? It didn't aim to offend people. It aimed to make people laugh, and it did a good job of that. But now people are so offended that you get comedies like The Fall Guy that have decided we don't want to offend anybody. We just want it to be nice and rosy and kind and all this stuff, and that's fine. Not my cup of tea with The Fall Guy, but I was hoping to put it in sort of the same category, and it just never got there for me. And maybe that was an unfair expectation, but with the way that the story was set up, I thought it would hit a lot of those same notes that things like Three Amigos or that category of Hollywood stars that end up in real peril while something is also being produced. And this is just at the bottom of the list for me as a part of that vein.
And the problem with, and I kind of have this problem, I guess, with The Fall Guy too. When you make a movie about Hollywood, you have to be very careful what you do and don't include from actual Hollywood. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are two of the absolute biggest stars right now, coming off the two biggest movies from last year. Both are nominated for Oscars. There's a reason they're cast in this movie. Okay, do you acknowledge that Ryan Gosling exists in this world? Do you acknowledge that Drive is a movie that fits in the same vein of like Miami Vice that they talked about a lot of this? Do you acknowledge that Oppenheimer is a thing? Do you acknowledge who John Krasinski is? Do you acknowledge who all these different people are? Like, La La Land did a really good job with the Hollywood aspect by not needing to acknowledge actual properties, actual present-day actors, actual musicians. John Legend is in it, not playing John Legend, but playing very much a John Legend person, but you don't have to acknowledge John Legend exists within this universe. The reason this one was like Tropic Thunder is because the actors they're playing are very much like the actors that the actors are playing in Tropic Thunder, that Robert Downey Jr. is playing somebody, and then that actor is made fun of within that universe as opposed to Robert Downey Jr. himself. And when you start doing a little too much of that, it starts being kind of funny sometimes, and like obviously Tropic Thunder, it worked, but you start getting too deep into a rabbit hole where you almost get in trouble if you try to go too far into this. The movie they're making in it is like a Dune, Mad Max, weird space movie that's like...
With what appears to be a blatant Matthew McConaughey ripoff.
Yes. And like... But there's only so much you can go into that without being like, we literally just sat here and watched Dune like a few weeks ago, and this looks like a Dune knockoff. Like, but are you acknowledging that Dune exists in this world or not? That's where you start asking way too many questions. It's like, what Hollywood is this world? A movie like La La Land, and I'm just tying it in because of the Ryan Gosling tie-in, like,
sure,
it did a great job with showing Hollywood without showing any specifics of Hollywood. Like this, I feel like tried to, in Tropic Thunder 2, they try to get so specific in the fake Hollywood we've created that sometimes it gets a little lost, and I do think Fall Guy kind of got lost in that.
I didn't think I would say this coming into today, but I enjoyed Argyle more than I enjoyed The Fall Guy.
Wow.
Yikes.
Sorry. It's the truth. It's the truth. That's the way I felt coming out of this one. I think it's now my least favorite movie of the year.
Yikes.
I'll say there's two movies where I've skipped popcorn. going into them. One was Civil War, one was The Fall Guy.
Maybe you should eat more
Maybe
popcorn.
that's the problem.
I'm not
You're
saying
just
that
hungry.
that's a correlation, but I'm saying every time I skip the popcorn counter, every single time,
You just go in angry from the beginning.
I don't think
He
I
seemed
do.
down or angry or something when he sat down. He did.
The movie was
Got to go with the
movie
chicken
was not
fingers,
good.
Tim.
Look, I'm trying to make better decisions, and John, you're going to tell us all about those decisions with a program that we're following very closely at Way to Wellness.
Yes, go to aplanforme.com. I am following that program. Hey, I had food last night. I have gotten to the point where I can enjoy the food. I split it with my wife. We are spending less money instead of getting our own meals. We're splitting it instead and saving money and saving calories as well. Go to aplanforme.com. They can get you on that same plan as well, like I'm on, like Tim's on, like my dad is on, like Jim Dunaway is on, and they have us losing weight. Hey, I went to Disney World, and after eating my 4-digit Victoria and Albert's 12-course meal, put a little weight on after that, but came back after my surgery. I had changed my habits to where normally when I would be sick or having surgery, I'll stay at home and just eat and not think about anything, but I completely changed, and I instantly lost all that weight plus some when I was at home. Instead of being sick, normally would make me gain weight. It was the opposite because they had me on a good plan. Leslie and her whole board certified team there. As you can see, Tim getting his blood pressure checked, me doing the weigh-in, getting my blood pressure checked as well. Go visit them at planforme.com. They can get you on that plan, get that consultation, and you too can get on the right path.
One thing we'd appreciate very much is a thumbs up for those that are here in the stream watching live. Certainly do appreciate that. Or if you're watching after the fact, that thumbs up goes a long way. You talk about splitting up the meals and splitting the check. Cobra Kai Season 6 is set to be split into 3 parts. The final season of the popular series will consist of 15 episodes. The season will be split into 3 5-episode blocks. The first 5 episodes will premiere on July 18th, while the second batch of 5 will premiere on November 28th. The final 5 episodes of the series will premiere in 2025, with an exact date to be announced at a later date. Jeff, does the Cobra Kai series on Netflix work for you?
Yes, I love it. It's second only to The Office, in my opinion.
Second only to The Office? That's high praise. I know you're obsessed with
I
The
like
Office.
it. I like the idea of what Johnny and Daniel were up to all these years later, and it works for me.
Tyler, you've sold all your stock on Cobra Kai.
I didn't like Cobra Kai. I watched 3 seasons of it, and it's I just can't get into it like other people have, and that sucks because my family loves Cobra Kai. You guys seem to like it a lot, and I love the original Karate Kid trilogy. So
what's the disconnect?
I don't know.
I mean, it's fine. I want to know.
I don't know. I'm just sitting there. I just sit there and think, man, I'm not enjoying this.
Is it something you're considering revisiting, or are you completely done with it?
I might revisit it, but there's so much other stuff that I'd rather revisit first.
Rocky, have you tried out Cobra Kai? It's something that has a huge amount of fans that cannot wait for the final season to come out.
Like a cult classic, right? I mean, I don't seek it out. I like the trilogy. I haven't tried the series. Since he's giving it up, he can be the fall guy.
That's where you should end right there, probably.
No, but I just don't care about Karate Kid. Ralph Macchio, who was 27. Was 27 playing a 14-year-old?
Yeah, something like that.
So now he's in his 80s? How old is he now?
I don't think he's in his 80s unless they.
He's 80. He
Is
looks pretty good to be 80.
62.
I love William Zabka, though. He played the bully in almost every single 80s movie.
Yeah.
So.
No, I just think that's cool that they pick it up like where his life
Well, I
is
think it's
later.
a cool concept, but I just don't.
And I think I was the right age when those first 3 movies were out. I was really young when the first one came out, and just kind of.
Did you go as a kid in the shower curtain for Halloween?
No, I wasn't
great
that big of a
costume.
fan. I loved the show, or the movie, but I wasn't that day.
John,
dedicated.
why does this series work? Why is Cobra Kai such a huge hit?
I like the Karate Kid okay. The original movies, the Jackie Chan one was awful. I am looking forward to the
Hilary Swank?
Hilary Swank one was not that great. I'm looking forward to the new one they're doing with kind of bringing the worlds together of Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. But Cobra Kai worked because, number one, it's super digestible. It's short episodes. It's, a lot of times when you binge TV, it's like, well, do I want to watch a 2-hour movie or do I want to binge a TV show with hour-long episodes and you end up watching 4 and end up being twice as long? You can watch an entire season in a sitting. Yeah. This is the perfect show to binge. And it is kind of like watching a movie, basically. You're watching another Karate Kid movie. I think it's done a great job following the older versions of the two main characters and bringing back pretty much everybody, obviously except Mr. Miyagi because he's dead. But outside of that, bringing
Spoiler.
back everybody. In real life, he's dead. From the original movies and tying in all the different storylines, and with Terry Silver in there now. I mean, every aspect of this has flowed perfect with what the movies were and what we grew up with. It's built new people. I can't pronounce the dude's name. It's like Zolo Maradania, whatever. It's one that played Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
He's like the kind of the main new Ralph Macchio in it now. It's kind of built him into being something. Peyton List, my wife was all about, but she's like one of the main people in the show now. So it had a bunch of kind of no-name people that I understand why it was a YouTube show at first, because it was on YouTube Red back in the day, which is just YouTube Premium now. And then people saw, okay, there's a little something to this. Let's grow it. And then Netflix took it over. They put the budget behind it. They've grown it, and they've turned it into what everybody loved about Karate Kid, but in present day. And it's done a really good job of bringing it to present day. And William Zabka not knowing anything about technology and all this stuff, and showing he's basically just this guy that, you know, was a loser after the Karate Kid movies and just sat in his apartment and drank beer all the time, but he's having to learn how to live life now. It's almost like there's really good coming of age for the adults in it, even though they're in their 60s now. But it's been going on, you know, for a decade. I don't know. It's just a really, really good show, and it's really well done, and it works.
Tell me if this analogy works for you. What Cobra Kai has done for the Karate Kid series is what Wicked did for The Wizard of Oz. Showing things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Giving you a different flavor of the same story.
The Wizard of Oz is one of the biggest movies of all time because of what it did when it happened. But today's generation, I feel like, wouldn't care about The Wizard of Oz, and they wouldn't care about Broadway even. But Wicked kind of brought a lot of people into Broadway, a lot of people into that universe of Oz. It's two very different examples, but I do think has done, if you can take old properties and make them work present day, I mean, you talk about an absolute home run because everybody has nostalgia, but like, I'm not rushing to go watch The Wizard of Oz really ever. I mean, I've even done The Wizard of Oz. I've seen Wicked a million times on Broadway and off, but I'm never clamoring for that. I'm not even really clamoring for the Karate Kid movies. They're fine. I like them, but like, I will go watch Cobra Kai, and I will rewatch Cobra Kai because it's so well done. So yes,
it does have some replay value.
I think it's very similar. Obviously, very different approaches, but it is very similar.
Okay. Tyler, did you have any more thoughts on Cobra Kai before we move on?
No, I think you made a good point about comparing it to Wicked and Wizard of Oz, because you made me realize I don't care about Wizard of Oz, and I don't know anyone around my age that does.
You hear about it in pop culture and everything, but if you start thinking about it, when was the last time any of us sat down and watched The Wizard of Oz? It's probably been a hot minute since we've done that.
Well, here's what we know. Rockstar is about to go down the yellow brick road. He's going to skip his way out of here. I would like a shot on Rockstar. Final closing words from him on today's episode as we give him a big round of applause.
I think just got a text from my daycare that my son has hit a teacher. So
yeah.
I have to go pick him up.
You should stop watching all that Cobra Kai. That's the problem.
I have to be the fall guy.
Sweep the leg.
Love you guys.
All right. Good to see you, Rockstar.
See you, Rocky. Good luck.
Hope we can get an update on this tomorrow. That's excellent. My gosh.
Bye.
See, for those that don't know, Rockstar's son has been accused of malicious violent acts at the daycare in which he's been at, where he will push down other children. So they moved him to a more advanced grade within the preschool and within the daycare. And now he's attacking teachers. He's looking for people that are bigger than him, it seems.
Sounds like an All-Valley champion to me.
Whew. All right.
Crane kick.
I want to talk a little bit about Paul Walter Hauser,
Who, by the way, is in Cobra Kai.
who is in Cobra Kai, has been in a number of different things. You may know him from Richard Jewell or Cruella or I, Tonya. He was in Black Klansman. He also is going to voice a character in this summer's Inside Out 2 and will appear opposite Matt Damon in Doug Liman's The Instigators. He is set to play Captain Ed in the untitled new Naked Gun film. I'm going to give you two projects that involve Paul Walter Hauser, and I want you to tell me which one you're more excited for. Is it him playing
Chris Farley.
Is it him playing Captain Ed in the new untitled Naked Gun film that, by the way, is being produced by Seth MacFarlane. George Kennedy, by the way, previously played that role in the original film trilogy that kicked off with the 1988 comedy The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. Or are you more excited for him in the upcoming Chris Farley biopic from director Josh Gad that stars Hauser as the late Saturday Night Live standout? By the way, The Naked Gun featuring Liam Neeson in the role that was made famous by Leslie Nielsen. So, what is your answer here, Jeff, on which one of those two?
Chris Farley.
The Chris Farley biopic?
I'm just not sure about a remake of Naked Gun, and I'm not sure about Seth MacFarlane doing it.
Who's going to play
my
Nordberg?
opinion.
I don't know the answer to that
That's
yet.
a good question, too.
I don't know the answer to that yet, but it is a very timely question here. Tyler, you're on fire today. You have found your happy space back there behind the camera switcher. And, you know, after John ripped up the contract, I feel like you became a free man, much like the rest of us did.
Today I've just got a belly full of barbecue, and I'm just happy.
That's true. He can put down some barbecue. Which one of those two projects right now are you buying more stock into, John Lunceford?
Chris Farley. He is the perfect choice to play Chris Farley. Cody Rhodes is in the Naked Gun too. I randomly saw that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what he's playing in it necessarily, but as they're kind of slowly, I guess, trickling that out. But I mean, I was never a Naked Gun person really to begin with. Obviously, it has plenty of pop culture moments that you can point back to, but you know, Seth MacFarlane writing it is fine. I don't know if he'll find his way on the screen or not. It seems like he's doing less and less of that now. But no, Chris Farley, Paul Walter Hauser is the perfect choice to play him, and it could be all kinds of, you know, wrong, and I'm not saying wrong like funny wrong, like it could just be done poorly, or it could be done absolutely phenomenally. It's probably going to be either or for me, but he's the perfect choice to play him.
We want to get into a new segment that we've done a couple of times here. It's called Pick Your Picture, and it gives us a chance to talk about what our flavor profile currently looks like. But before we pick our picture, I first recommend that you pick My Dentist. Take a trip to Grants Mill Road at Alabama Dental Associates, led by Dr. Jeff and Dr. Brian. I love visiting with the professional dental team that they've put together. Knowing I'm taking care of myself the best way I can is important for me. It should be important for you too. I spent years having anxiety about the dentist, never being able to find that right fit for all of my needs, but now I have found the solution, and I'm happy to share it with you. They not only have all the latest advancements in dental healthcare technology, but they also have the friendliest staff in town. If you're ready to find that perfect dental team, reach out and try Alabama Dental Associates for yourself. You will not be disappointed. They can help you feel at ease about all of your dental procedures. For more information or to make an appointment, call them at 205-956-8977. It's 956-8977, or visit alabamadental.com. They look forward to seeing you. Time for Pick Your Picture. If you don't know how this works, I'm going to give you two theaters that you can walk in right now at this very moment. You're being basically drug into one of them, and you get to decide which of these films at this point in time that you will be watching. Going to begin with the man that John argues has the best overall filmography in the history of cinema, and that is Tom Cruise. That is your argument that he has the best filmography?
I don't think it's an argument, but yes.
It is an argument. In Theater 1, are you going to see Edge of Tomorrow from 2014?
Great movie.
Or in Theater 2, are you going to be seeing Days of Thunder from 1990?
His best movie, so I'm going with Days of Thunder.
You're going with Days of Thunder. I'm not sure there would have been many choices that would have beat out Edge of Tomorrow for you.
No, Edge of Tomorrow and Days of Thunder I think are both top 5 for him. But Days of Thunder is number 1. It's a classic. You're talking about Talladega Nights the other day for best funny movies or whatever. It's a good NASCAR movie, but it is no Days of Thunder.
By the way, his co-star in Edge of Tomorrow was
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt, who will be in the number 1 movie this weekend. Jeff,
may be her best movie.
Theater 1 or Theater 2?
Oh, it's Days of Thunder, easy. I haven't ever seen Edge of Tomorrow, but I would watch Days of Thunder over and over. So
sticking with the 1990 classic,
It's a good
Tyler,
movie.
You're breaking the tie. No, you're not. They both went Days of Thunder. You have a chance to see Edge
I'll
of Tomorrow
go
by
Edge
yourself.
of Tomorrow. That was based off of a really unknown manga. So
Oh,
I'll go Edge of Tomorrow.
okay.
I like how in the chat Smuff said we're talking about Cobra Kai. It's like, this would be better if it was animated in a Far
saw
East
that.
art style. Tyler probably.
It just
Also,
proved you correct.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was in Tropic Thunder with this actor,
Just
so
be Dragon Ball.
Yes, Tom Cruise was in Tropic Thunder with this actor, so we now move on to two films that feature Ben Stiller playing a near identical role. Jeff, are you going into the Theater 1 that's currently screening 1995's Heavyweights? Or are you going into Theater 2, which is screening 2004's Dodgeball?
Dodgeball. I tried to like Heavyweights. I tried to go back and watch it after found out he was in it, and I just didn't think it was that great.
Never been your thing, huh?
But I like Ben Stiller, but that one I watched it a couple years ago, and I don't think I finished it.
I thought Heavyweights would be a show that you would really like.
Yeah.
I really did.
I wanted to like it. I did.
It's your flavor profile. That's how I felt about The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
Tyler, which one of these two movies are you seeing?
I've never seen Heavyweights. What's that about?
Oh my! Hey,
It's on Disney Plus.
it may be in the thing over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
That's not so subtle. There is, by the way, the Heavyweights VHS is behind Jeff. It's actually right behind his head. So I don't know if anybody can see. You can grab it off the shelf there and show it to the camera. Show all the people at home that there's
Is that a good shot?
obviously an affection that John has for this movie.
Yes.
John, are you going to see Heavyweights or Dodgeball?
Heavyweights is an American classic, but Dodgeball. You know, we're doing best comedies. Dodgeball would definitely make my list there.
Dodgeball's
I would
great.
probably choose Dodgeball.
I would probably choose Dodgeball as well, just because I feel like I haven't seen Dodgeball in a hot minute, and I want to go through the experience all over again because that movie constantly delivers. So
Heavyweights worked because it came out when I was a kid, so it's better to watch kids when I was a kid. Dodgeball works now because there's a lot of similarities in Dodgeball and the over-the-top humor in it that you also see paralleled in everyday life too, to where I probably would choose Dodgeball. And I feel like it has more just sit back and casually laugh more moments than a movie like Heavyweights does.
Nick says that one is tough, but I guess I would have to go Dodgeball. And then Brian Pavlik says Heavyweights all day, dude. Come on. Dodgeball currently winning the vote here from the audience.
I could see Brian be, was it Paul Feig that was the counselor? One of the counselors in it. I could see Brian Pavlik being that counselor.
Really?
In a remake. I don't know why.
That's actually a compliment because he plays the role of Tim in the movie Heavyweights. So Counselor Tim, it works out. Ben Stiller starred with this comedic legend in the movie The Cable Guy. Let's go on to three of that actor's movies that all came out in the year 1994. So I'm giving you three theaters. Theater 1, Theater 2, or Theater 3. Here we go. Tyler, you can see Ace Ventura, The Mask, or Dumb and Dumber. You can go into one of those theaters.
That's tough.
Every single one of those movies came out in 1994.
That's so tough. Dumb and Dumber just missed the cut for my comedy movies list the other day.
Theater
go
1.
Dumb and Dumber.
Theater 1, Ace Ventura. Theater 2, The Mask. Theater 3, Dumb and Dumber.
I'll go Dumb and Dumber. I love it. Ace Ventura though.
Lunceford, which one of those movies are you walking into?
This is not even a hard choice at all. If we did most overrated movies of all time, Dumb and Dumber would be near the top.
You're so wrong about that.
Ace Ventura, easy choice.
I don't know which one's dumb or dumber. Your take on this or your take on Civil War?
Civil War catching strays randomly in a Dumb and Dumber conversation.
What did you choose, Ace Ventura?
Ace Ventura, easy.
After you did
The Mask is okay, but
after
Ace
you
Ventura,
criticized
easy.
Dumb and Dumber, I didn't really care what you had to say. Let me ask you, Jeff.
That's tough because those are three of my favorite movies.
I'll go ahead and say this. I'm walking into The Mask. That was the movie that I would watch every Saturday morning with a nice bowl of Cookie Crisp, and I would go revisit The Mask. I feel like I've seen that movie the most, but not having seen that movie recently, I would go revisit it.
They are all great, and I would go in the theater to see any of them or any other Jim Carrey movie that era, but I would probably have to go with Ace Ventura. But I love the other two also.
So you and John are seeing Ace Ventura. I'm seeing The Mask, and Tyler is seeing Dumb and Dumber. That goes to show you how great of a year Jim Carrey had in 1994.
It was a good year for movies.
Almost as good as this next year where he did Batman Forever and the Ace Ventura sequel.
Maybe.
When
I would say
nature
this
calls.
one was better.
I'm a major fan of Nature Calls too.
That was a joke, by the way, man.
Did you, please don't hurt me, John. Do you know the ranking of how those movies did at the box office worldwide? What would you say out of those three? If you had to place them 1, 2, 3, which one do you think won the box office? Which one was second? Which one was third?
I would guess.
Worldwide.
I honestly have no idea. I feel like Dumb and Dumber has had better legs. I don't remember in 1994 if it was giant or not. So I'm going to say Ace Ventura, Mask, Dumb and Dumber. 1, 2, 3, but I honestly have no idea.
That is incorrect. Anybody else want to take a guess?
I would have probably went that direction too. I don't know. I'd be afraid to say.
I can see The Mask be number 1.
The Mask is number 1. It made $351 million worldwide, and it got Jim Carrey a Golden Globe Best Actor nomination. It came out in July of 1994. Dumb and Dumber is number 2. It made $270 million worldwide, coming out in December of 1994. And then Ace Ventura Pet Detective, which came out in February of 94, made $107 million worldwide. But
To be fair, one came out peak summer, one came out peak Christmas, and then one came out in February.
well, that's still part of the
No, I know. I just didn't know when they all came out.
part of the discussion. And plus, Jim Carrey became a bigger star after Ace Ventura came out, to the point where The Mask was primed and ready to go.
Yeah.
The 3 films made a total of $550 million in 1994 dollars, which would be over $1 billion here in 2024. That is an impressive year from Jim Carrey for sure. How's the chat feeling about these 3 choices? Is there any consensus?
Boomer says, it's Ace Ventura. Why would you even ask the question? And then Richard says the opening scene of Ace Ventura was awesome.
Jeff,
Which it is.
I know you love Ace Ventura. What
Yeah.
is it about that movie that holds up so well in your opinion?
It's just stupid and funny.
Great
all
answer.
his
I mean,
movies
yeah.
are that way. I mean, you could just put it on, and it's like movie comfort food.
Nick said Ace Ventura. Richard said Ace Ventura. Brian Pavlik said Mask is number 1. No, he said Mask. Yeah, Mask is number 1 for him. Smuff said Dumb and Dumber. Jeff said Me, Myself, and Irene was his best role, though. I think it's actually Liar, Liar. That's my favorite movie he's done.
I love Liar Liar. But if we were to do 5 best Jim Carrey movies, yeah, that would be
Truman
tricky.
Show or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I really like.
See, he had
those.
3 back-to-back. It wasn't same year, but he had a 3 run after that, after Batman Forever and Ace Ventura 2. Cable Guy, Liar, Liar, Truman Show. I think that's a infinitely better threesome than the first 3 you mentioned.
I think a movie that's highly underrated that I really loved when I saw it, nobody else saw it. It's called The Majestic with Jim Carrey. It's a dramatic role, but people didn't want Jim Carrey in a dramatic role, but thought he was really great in that. So a lot of people talk about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind as being that great dramatic role of his, but I feel like The Majestic.
It's a little overrated.
What was the movie with the number? Is it the number 23?
The number 23.
I like that one.
You liked that one?
I did. Still do. I've watched it a couple times.
I mean, that's fine. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, but that was heralded as one of the worst movies I think ever to come out. But anyway, the number 23 with Jim Carrey getting a honorable mention.
It's only got
here,
a 7 on Rotten Tomatoes. It could be lower, I guess, technically.
which is lower than the number.
The UK Fall Guy.
No, 23. That's the whole point of the guys. I set it up on it. Even Tyler's like, I'm gonna let them whiff on this. I know where it's going.
I'll stand by my answer.
On to the pairing of Jim Carrey's co-star from Bruce Almighty, which has not, I don't think, been mentioned here by anybody as being
Oh,
one of their
I like
guys.
that one a lot. I forgot
I
about
like
that
it,
one.
yeah.
I actually just watched that the other night.
On to the pairing of Jim Carrey's co-star from Bruce Almighty and another man to have notably played Joe Biden on SNL, which Jim Carrey has done. Which of these 2 Jennifer Aniston comedies that both feature Jason Sudeikis are you walking into? Is it 2011's Horrible Bosses or is it 2013's We're the Millers?
For the Millers.
We're the Millers?
Yep.
I like them both. I go with Horrible Bosses.
I do
but
like
I
'em
like
both.
that one.
I'm going We're the Millers. I love We're the Millers.
And I'm going Horrible Bosses, I think. I think I'm going Horrible Bosses.
Horrible Bosses has better star power overall, but Will Poulter makes We're the Millers for me.
We are
100%.
truly split on that one here, 2 and 2, but I feel like John can be swayed.
I like both of them. I mean, they're both really funny comedies, and I like the second Horrible Bosses as well. But no, I'm going We're the Millers. One of the best comedies ever.
Okay, we'll see what the chat has to say about it. Be monitoring that, John. A constant collaborator with Jennifer Aniston and co-star in Horrible Bosses that's also named Jason and was also in Dodgeball and also in Tropic Thunder leads us to our next 2 choices. Which Jason Bateman movie are you walking into? Are you going with 2007's Juno or are you going with 2009's Couples Retreat? We'll start with Jeff.
I don't really like either one of those choices, but
Forced to watch one of
I'd
them.
go with Couples Retreat.
Couples Retreat. What are you going with, Tyler?
That's tough. It's been a long time since I've seen Juno, but Couples Retreat is just like, it's one of those comfort movies for like rom-coms like that and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So I'll go Couples Retreat.
Couples Retreat very much has that same vibe as Grown Ups.
Yeah.
We're getting the gang together and we're going to go shoot somewhere where we want to hang out for a summer, and the cameras are going to happen to be rolling.
Yeah.
Smuff says, I'm going home.
Couples Retreat didn't really do it for me. Juno, I think, is overrated. I did like Juno, though. Not Diablo Cody's best work, even though everybody says, she hit a home run and then fell off the planet after that.
You could say that about Juno and all the momentum it had in a lot of different regards, just leading nowhere.
Yeah.
Even Michael Cera. I didn't catapult him into that next
Michael
level.
Cera,
Superbad.
Elliot Page. I mean, Superbad before or after Juno?
I thought Superbad was 08.
I'm going to say Superbad was 07, but I want to say Superbad was before Juno, if I had to guess. I would guess Juno was award
I was thinking
season.
Superbad was older than
Both
that,
of those are 07.
Superbad was August 17th. Juno was December 5th. So it was a few months before.
I didn't realize they were that close together.
But I'd still probably choose Juno. Tully's actually the best movie she's ever done, though.
Notably, in Couples Retreat was someone that has become one of the most dependable directors in existence. That is Jon Favreau. Let's talk about 2 movies he directed. Are you going to see Tyler 2003's Elf, or are you going to see 2019's The Lion King? Right now.
Elf.
Even though it's not Christmas season, you're going to see Elf today.
Yeah, I'll go see Elf.
John, which one of those 2 movies are you going to see right now?
He did The Jungle Book, right? I wish you would have said that
Yeah,
one.
if you had mentioned The Jungle Book, I would have picked
I would have
that.
chosen The Jungle Book
I
over
picked
Elf.
these movies for a
but
reason.
I was not as high on the live-action remake of The Lion King, so I'm going to Elf.
Elf.
I'm not a huge fan of Elf. I would probably lean more towards The Lion King, and I'd probably be in a theater all by myself. I'm sure the chat is eviscerating me.
Elf.
I don't
Elf.
like
Elf.
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 Unanimous.
Elf.
I don't like Elf.
in the chat.
Everybody going with Elf.
And plus, it's May, and I thought that it not being the Christmas time would help the argument
It
just a
doesn't
little
matter.
bit.
You could come over this Christmas to watch Elf. Though.
I don't like Elf. I don't want to watch Elf.
Russell said you're Scrooge.
I guess so.
Tim, you're dead to me from Jeff. There you go.
By the way, that's a different Jeff. He wouldn't Morse code that over to John. There was a Christmas Carol movie that was animated. I think it's from Robert Zemeckis that had Jim Carrey in the title role of Scrooge, and it was horrible. I just thought it was really
It
bad.
had that same odd animation as the Tom.
Yeah, the Polar Express, the Tom
Yeah,
Hanks
that's
movie,
right.
Polar Express.
Drew a blank.
Just weird where they're kind of like dead in the eyes the entire time. Didn't love it. Okay, let's move on to this one. You may remember in The Lion King in 2019 that Seth Rogen voices Pumbaa, who loves to eat, in the new look Lion King movies. So now let's shift to 2 not so family friendly Rogen roles that involve food items in the titles. John, are you going with 2008's Pineapple Express or 2016's Sausage Party?
So I actually just watched Pineapple Express
I saw that pop up on Letterboxd.
randomly at Disney World. So my wife was running a race.
You don't have anything better to do at Disney World than watch Pineapple Express?
My wife is running a race at like 6 in the morning, and there's nothing to do at 6 in the morning at Disney World.
Go out there and watch her run the race.
I only woke up because our dog was with us, and our dog woke me up. So I turned the TV on, and I watched Pineapple Express.
It's the saddest story I've heard in a long time.
And it was not very good. So I'm going to go with Sausage Party.
Very long story to get there to where we are with these theaters. Which theater are you walking into?
Can I just write in Knocked Up?
No, you cannot. That's the whole
I
point
guess
of this
Sausage
game.
Party. Then I haven't seen that one, so
Watch Jeff laugh the entire time during Sausage
Sausage Party has its moments.
yeah, it might be pretty good. I don't know.
Sausage Party is a movie that I thought would reach cult classic status,
Never did.
and it has not. It was there
Flash
one
in the
minute
pan.
and it is gone now.
We have personal stories with Sausage Party that would make me laugh more watching the movie. That I would have to choose Sausage Party.
When you say it
That
like
sounds
that, it
weird.
sounds
That
really,
sounds
really
so
weird.
That sounds
Not
weird.
one of the best moments in show history. We have personal sausage parties that we'd like to talk about. It's like, no, that's not
That's not what I meant. but
really
yeah.
what. Tyler, save the segment. Which one are you walking into?
I didn't really like Sausage Party, so I'm going to go Pineapple Express. I like that movie a lot.
I will argue with anyone that Sausage Party has one of the best trailers ever produced.
That trailer was really good.
Because they present it like it's going to be a Pixar film.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
thinking like, okay. And then when she starts cutting up the potato and it starts screaming, Jeff, before you leave here today, we got to show you the trailer for Sausage Party.
All right.
And people were saying, "Oh, are you having locker room moments?" No, it has to do with the trailer. A friend of ours the trailer and his reaction to it and everything. It was just funny, so I probably laughed.
Please don't try to save any of this.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
All right, let's move on to this. Seth Rogen was in the #1 movie a year ago in Super Mario Brothers movie, where he played Donkey Kong. The voice of Mario in that movie was Chris Pratt. Which of these Chris Pratt movies are you moving your way into? John, is it 2012's Zero Dark 30? Or is it 2024's animated Garfield movie, which has not yet been released?
Zero Dark 30. Zero Dark 30 was a great movie. Garfield is going to be absolute pure garbage.
I wanted a world where I could compare Zero Dark 30, which is probably one of the most intense movies ever made.
Yes.
With the 2024 animated Garfield movie where Snoop Dogg plays Snoop Cat.
I'm going to go see Garfield.
That explains a lot.
I don't think I've seen Zero Dark 30 either.
Okay. Haven't seen Zero Dark 30. Still going to see Garfield.
There's way more torture watching Garfield than was in Zero Dark 30.
Probably. Tyler, which one of these two are you going to see?
I'm going Zero Dark 30.
That's how bad the Garfield movie looks.
It looks awful.
Yeah,
really bad.
I don't have high hopes for it.
But you'll be there.
One of my kids wants to go see it. I told her we'd go see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, using her as a pawn. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'll take you, but secretly you're very excited about it.
No, I didn't see any of those other Garfield movies that Bill Murray played Garfield. So,
a featured voice in the Garfield movie, this will be our last one, that has a tie-in with the man that started
Snoop Cat.
this edition of Pick Your Picture, is who we'll end with. Once again, a featured voice in the Garfield movie that has a tie-in with the man that started this edition of Pick Your Picture is who we'll end with. Any guesses of who we're going with?
I don't remember who we started with.
Tom Cruise, right?
Started with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is in the Garfield movie?
No, I'm saying that there's someone in the Garfield movie that has a history with Tom Cruise that plays a character in the Garfield movie.
What?
It's not like Inception, Tyler. You should be able to wrap your head around this one.
Simon Pegg.
Ving Rhames is in the Garfield movie.
That was close.
Those are
They literally are his team in all the Mission Impossible movies is him, Simon Pegg, and Ving Rhames.
But if you took one person on one side of the spectrum and one person on the other side of the spectrum, and you said, who are two people that are completely different? Simon Pegg would be over here, and Ving Rhames would be over here.
Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames.
Jeff, are you going to see 1997's Con Air or 1996's Mission Impossible, the original one?
ooh, man, I like both of those movies pretty good, but I'd probably go Mission Impossible.
Going with 1996's Mission Impossible. John, which one are you going with?
Mission Impossible.
And Tyler?
I'll go Mission Impossible.
Going Con Air. Mission
Con Air's good
Impossible.
too, though.
Mission Impossible is not nearly as much fun as Con Air is.
Yeah,
The first one is not as
fun.
good as the latter ones have been,
Yeah.
but Con Air was okay. I only watched Con Air because when they crashed the plane at the end, whatever hotel they crashed in, or I don't even remember where exactly they crashed it at the end, but the controlled explosion of the hotel that they actually like did the stunt for, my dad saw out in Vegas, I believe, and so I was like, I got to watch this thing that my dad saw.
Your dad's weirdly attached to a lot of movies, and I
Yes.
don't know how he pulls that off.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I pull up to the theater last night. I get out of my truck, and I'm wearing my sunglasses on my face, and I go, I don't want to bring these into the theater with me, so I walk back to my truck, I put the sunglasses in the truck, and I look over, and there's this little boy climbing up on the railing of where we're at the Vestavia City Center. And it's a steep drop. If he was to fall over that railing, it would be very, very bad. And I'm watching him, and he keeps going up. And so I'm thinking, I've got to make my way over there and save this little boy. And I'm watching him, and he's climbing. And next thing I know, I have a truck at my heels blaring on the horn. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I turn around, and it is Tim Lunceford. It is John's dad, who's in a parking spot parked diagonally, right on my heels, blaring the horn, laughing up a storm.
Doesn't surprise me.
Your mom looks mortified about the whole thing.
Yeah, sounds about
I
right.
look at him probably with a death stare, and he's like, oh, watch out there, Skippy, or whatever he said. And I'm like, okay. And he's blaring on the horn, and I walk over there, and I was like, well, actually, Mr. Lunceford, I was worried because there was a young boy who was climbing up on
He
this
fell to his
thing.
death, afraid of the horn.
And
I was like, he's probably.
And your dad goes, oh, well, did the horn make him fall over? And I'm like, this is awful. I go, I don't know because I've lost sight of him. And he thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I'm like,
That is pretty funny.
Your dad sounds awesome.
If he gets to do that to me, I get to tell the story on air the next day. That's the way it works here in this business. Okay. It's time now for what we've all awaited. John is officially back, even though he's still recovering from his surgical wounds. He's been put through the ringer, but probably has a renewed appreciation for those that put their bodies up for their art. And that is really the subject of today's rankings, highlighting the stunt men and stunt women that have made movie magic possible over the years. It's now time for John to hit the mat with this brand new edition of Lunce's List.
What is this? What is this? Lunce's List, Lunce's List, oh. What is this? What is this? Lunce's List, Lunce's List, oh. Lunce's List to five. Lunce's List to five. Lunce's List to five. Lunce's List to five.
All right, John. You are tasked with naming the 5 movies prior to 2024 that you feel have truly incredible stunt work that's profiled there on the screen. You can only go with 1 entry per franchise, and I ask that you please highlight specific scenes that you'd like to point out. I don't want to put any pressure on you, but Richard in the chat says after time off, this list better be solid. So
I'm still recovering, like
And
Tim
then
said.
Jeff added in, not quite the smooth transition Lionel was rocking in your absence.
Woo! Can you do a quick impression of what that sounded like, John? All right, it's time for Lunce's List. Lunceless List. Here we go.
That's what she said. That's what she said.
Okay,
That's
good.
what she
We got the
said.
effect. Okay. Whew, we got the effect. We got an Ooh Pittsburgh in there. Tyler, you'll love the replay of that.
Hold on, I'm leaking.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we get the camera right on him. Good job. See, this is called revenge, is what Lionel's doing. Are you okay?
I don't know if it's
Okay.
revenge. He was going to come in here all drugged up on Friday
That is true.
until he realized that
I'm
is
all
a
drugged up
terrible
right
idea.
now. That's what y'all don't realize.
Is there anything you need to...
No, everything looks great. Everything, no. Okay.
That's kind of sad. That thing looked sharp.
It did. EG did a really good job on that.
All that good work kind of bled over
I don't
to
know. That
part-
one's kind of generic and stale. Well,
Tyler's gotten a lot of high marks on his list from everyone but John Lunceford. John has not
I
been a
really
fan.
did. I was expecting way more backlash from my list, and then there were really only 1 pick per list where people were kind of upset, except for John. He was
Statler
upset about
Waldorf.
all 5 picks in every list.
Statler and Waldorf should have been number 1 yesterday. All right. I will say that when it comes
Underrated?
to, yeah, they are by far number 1.
I
They-
feel
they're-
like internet has absolutely risen their stock to where they're overrated now. That's why
no.
nobody
They're the
from
best
Dr.
people.
Teeth was on there, because Animal raised everybody's stock.
Dr. T should have been on there too. Stunt work, I think, has as much to do with the stunt coordinators and the technical aspects of stunt work, on top of just the people that are in the car actually doing the flipping. So I say I approach my list from that standpoint. There may not be like, oh, that person did that crazy jump or something. It may be more about the technical flair. There may not even be a person in the car, but it still was a practical effect that was done and obviously had to be built up and everything. So I'll just say that.
Okay, let's start off with number 5. Jeff, you're a fan of some high-quality action movies.
Yes.
And low-quality action
Yes.
movies. You love action films.
Yes.
Are there some things that come to mind without naming them of what would make your short list of greatest stunts in movie history?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big set pieces where you're like, wow, how'd they pull that off? I'm sure
Yes.
you've seen a lot of those in the theater.
Yep.
At number 5, Mad Max Fury Road, a film that both John and I think is overrated, but you cannot deny the practical effects and the usage of them within the boundaries that George Miller had.
So I think part of the joking around in The Fall Guy was Ryan Gosling, I'm drugged up right now, plays a stuntman.
Tyler's ready to jump in and take over.
I already erased the Lunce's list part. You know, he comes in and he's like, here, I can do this. And they're like, no, we can just do it with CGI. It's like, no, we need to do this practical effect. And there's a lot of joking back and forth between what practical should we do, what CGI should we do. And it seems like from what I've read about this, that there was a lot of intense scenes that they wanted to get done that now, as opposed to, I guess, back with the Mel Gibson versions of the movies, we can just do it with CGI now. We don't have to worry about trying to find a way to do it practically. And it seems like every stunt performer and the stunt coordinators and all were like, no, we're going to do these practically because like that's what we're here for. There were like over 300 stunt scenes with like over 150 stunt people. Obviously the big car chases, there's tons of people involved in them and everything. And they basically said, this is our love letter to the stunt community, all these things, and we're going to do them the real way. That George Miller seemed like he's kind of like, I mean, I could do CGI for this. We don't have to worry about it. No, we're going to make it work. And they may have had to do a ton of takes and spend a ton of money to do it. But that's also why it won every technical Oscar as well, because of how it was shot, how everything was set up, how it all looked, all that kind of stuff, which, yeah, there's still plenty of CGI in it, but you can tell there's a lot of really good practical effects in it.
Jeff, where does the Mad Max series sit with you? Are you a fan? Are you looking forward to the new one?
I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I might see it, but I do respect the stunt work to being a lot of non-CGI, especially the older ones.
Yeah. In Fury Road, you got the guy playing the guitar with the fire coming out the end.
Yeah, it's cool. There's some cool parts for
Which
sure.
still doesn't make any sense.
It does.
But like, it's
right.
cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
It makes sense in that world for some reason. There's a great parody of that sequence featured from Conan O'Brien as he's making his way to Comic-Con, and he's got his whole crew kind of going towards San Diego as the Mad Max crew, and it's quite funny if you have not seen that on the YouTubes. Let's go ahead and go to number 4 on Lunce's list, profiling the 5 very, very best, I should say, very best feats of stunt work. At number 5, starting off strong with Mad Max Fury Road. You could probably imagine that if John had loved the movie more, it would have probably been higher on Lunce's list. At number 4, The Dark Knight Rises. This is the one with Bane, unfortunately, which means Ryan Brown is given some sort of...
Pittsburgh!
I walked right into that one.
I was waiting on it.
Yeah. This is mostly because of this scene that I'm showing right now, which is the opening to it. Mostly practical. They actually let Christopher Nolan drop a plane in the desert. So I'll give a lot of credit there for him. It seems like he kind of had to talk his way into that one, but it's Christopher Nolan. I know he didn't have quite the same, name at that point when he was doing it, but
it was pretty big.
It was already in the process of becoming really big. But the plane scene is an incredible opening scene to a movie, one of the best opening scenes in movies, period. With any superhero movie, you can talk about the fight scenes. In this one, when you have the end, when all the police are going against all the inmates from Arkham and they're all fighting and everything. I know everybody hates the way Bane went out, but to that point, the fighting had been good. The initial fight they have where he breaks Batman's back was good. The climbing up the tunnel and doing the jumps and all that kind of stuff, or not tunnel, but you know what I mean, the hole in the ground, the prison.
The pit.
That's done real well, but it all starts with the plane and
the plane.
And of course, the football field scene was mostly CGI. They didn't actually blow up an actual football field, but if you watch behind the scenes of it, it's kind of cool. They show all the explosions, and it looks the same until you get to the field's still there at the end of it.
Yeah.
But basically, the explosions and all the way you see them actually play off practically as well.
So 6 months before The Dark Knight Rises came out, I had an invitation to a special screening of this sequence, the plane sequence. And they gave us posters and T-shirts. And I saw it at the McWayne Center. And I couldn't understand a word that Bane was saying, but I didn't care because it was awesome. They ended up changing the voice of Bane from the cut that I saw to a lot more of a Sean Connery-esque sort of sounding voice where you could understand more of the words.
Which was the right thing to do.
But it was awesome to see that so far in advance. I was so excited. And then The Dark Knight Rises, I got a chance to see that movie, and it's my least favorite of the 3, but I still really enjoy it. I just think the third act, there's a lot of issues that I have with it that I can never get over for some reason, especially with how they handle Bane, who's such a force throughout the movie. Pew, pew, you're done. And that's it. And then Miranda Tate, oh my gosh. Sausage Party. Sausage Party.
Was she a character?
I'm so sorry. Okay. Anyway, her death sequence was handled really badly. And that's exactly what you fear in being a part of a live show. That's a T-shirt. Somebody just said, please go to number 3.
Aidan Gillen doesn't get remembered from that movie. The guy that played Littlefinger at the beginning.
Yeah.
Littlefinger. But it's...
Can we please go to number 3?
But he's really good in that opening scene as well.
Oh, my God.
All 3 of those movies were spectacle worthy of the biggest screen you could find.
John, hit the dump button, please.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Can you make some Miranda Taint shirts though? I'd rock that.
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. Woo. Okay. Number 3. Ben-Hur. Wow, going back here, John.
This is probably the only time Ben-Hur will
No
make the
CGI
list.
in that.
No CGI in this. It was 1959. There are movies that, you had a conversation about the best horror movies that hold up or whatever. One of the reasons I like 2001: A Space Odyssey is because it holds up from the 60s really, really well. This one holds up pretty well the way it's shot from the late 50s. I can't even do the rest of the list now.
I wish we could end the show so badly. All right.
I actually first saw this in middle school. We were kind of going through a period of learning about like Roman history and Jerusalem and kind of the biblical times and everything. And the chariot races in this were on point. The setup for it, the filming of it, the stunt work of it. There's no music when they're racing. It's just literally letting the scene play out. For when it was and for as fast as they're moving in those chariots, cinematography is incredible in it. There's a reason it won a record-setting at the time, 11 Academy Awards that stood for a long, long time until I guess Titanic tied it, and then Lord of the Rings beat it. Then Lord of the Rings had the most right now at 12. Lord of the Rings 3
overall Academy Award nominations
of wins.
Ben-Hur
won 11. I think Titanic won 11. I want to say Return of the King got 12, but
I'll look it up.
right.
I'll look it up.
but it had the record for a long, long time in 1959, and that stood till Titanic. So, winning all the technical stuff, it's a good movie. It's not one I'm like, I can't wait to watch Ben-Hur, but when it comes to something like this, I start thinking, hey, what are some old movies I can remember really big spectacles out of, because you couldn't do that back then, and it is an epic movie to be such an old movie.
So Return of the King, Titanic, and Ben-Hur all have 11.
Okay, so they're all tied.
So there you go.
But that's, you understand the epic of Return of the King. You understand, I'd still say the epic of Titanic, but Ben-Hur back in 1959 have all that as well. Really, really good movie. But anyway, Ben-Hur, probably the only time I'll ever made my list.
Probably so. We go on to number 2.
I forgot to put my picture up, but this is basically what the chariot scenes look like in it. But all the people, the horses, the controlled environment, they're able to just make tons of laps really fast and film it all very well.
It's not like they had a ton of other options either.
Yeah, that had to be a lot of work.
Yeah. Anyway.
Ben-Hur done that. Let's move on to number 2 now. It's okay. It's okay. Number 2 on Lunce's list of 5 shout out to stunt people. Number 2. Oh gosh.
All right, so I gotta know what puts this one above the others, because when I think cool Fast and Furious stunt, my first thought is I think it's part 4 when they're towing the bank vault down the street.
So that was my honorable mention for Fast and Furious. I was in Fast 5.
Oh, okay.
So I will go ahead and show that one since Tyler said that, because I already had a picture ready. So they actually, in 2 Chargers like this, towed a big safe. They basically steal the safe from police station and they haul it, and they just destroy all of the city, and they're in Brazil. And obviously, they had to shoot it, obviously, scene by scene, but they actually have a big safe behind the cars, and they're actually filming it all. It's all practical with some CGI after the fact to, help with the dust and to help with various things. But, I mean, you can't deny the stunt work from Fast and the Furious. Because the minute I started the list, somebody said, he's going to have Fast and the Furious on there. You're darn right I'm going to have
They said it just like that, too, and it was probably me.
You're darn right I'm going to have Fast and the Furious on there. You want stunt
That's
work.
why I go to the movies.
That's why they literally made
stunts.
multiple Fast and the Furious references at the beginning of that movie and showed this scene. However, the only reason I didn't choose this scene and I chose Furious 7 instead, so this is from the 5th one, is they literally drop cars out of a plane, and they actually drop the cars out of the plane in Furious 7, now they didn't have the actual actor sitting in them, talking, doing their lines, but they actually dropped the cars out of the plane. Stunt cameramen jumped out with the cars and filmed them all the way down. They had GPS on it, which in the movie it had GPS on to kind of find the right road it needed to land on and everything. But they actually legitimately threw the cars out of a cargo plane and let them land while filming it all as well. It was actually practically done. And so it's a phenomenal scene. It's one of those, this is like you wouldn't say with a lot of things Fast and Furious did, but this is one of the first times it's like, okay, you've jumped the shark. This is too much. You're not actually doing this. And then it's like, no, they legit dropped the cars out of the plane, and they forget. Look, these movies cost $250 million to make for a reason. But
somebody's sitting around there going, "How do we top the last one?"
Exactly. But you know what? Hard. That's also why these movies make over $1 billion a piece too. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's whether you hate the movies or like the movies,
you don't go for the plot.
You got to give them credit to actually dropping cars out of the plane.
You have the Fast and Furious franchise. I have the Saw franchise. We all have guilty pleasure franchises we have that have gone on way too long.
It's more like a criminal pleasure, Tim.
From the early 2000s all the way until now, we eagerly anticipate the next one to come out.
If it ever does.
If it ever does for you. But mine has been delayed until 2025 with Saw 11, but I'm excited about it.
The thing is, the way Fast 10 ended, and now The Rock's going through all this stuff, and the Rock was going to basically lead the whole next movie off, and so now who knows what's happened with him. Vin Diesel's had allegations against him. I don't think we'll ever see another Fast and the Furious movie as long as we live, and obviously I'm fine with that because they're not doing a great job of story right now.
If you think you will not see another,
I will be there all opening night. I'm just saying I'm fine if they stop.
You will see another Fast and Furious.
Yeah, there's too much money on the table.
There's too much money. This thing will continue to churn out. I don't care if they have to make it a Peacock TV series. They're going to do something with Fast and the Furious.
If I had decent odds on it, I would bet against it.
I'm ready to take that bet whenever you are.
John,
make it happen.
Do you know how much CGI was involved when they stole the gas with the Grand Nationals? And is that 4?
I don't know.
That was a very stressful scene.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've gone to space and all since then. Obviously,
yeah, they had to keep topping it. But that one, I remember
they had the submarine that they stole and all. I mean, that kind of stuff starts getting into such CGI. But really, for the most part, the earlier movies, really from 7 back, were mostly practical effects. Okay. So I give them a lot of credit.
I definitely see that in the first 3, but I remember watching the Fast and Furious 4. That whole gas truck scene. It was kind of stressful to watch.
Are we going with number 1 or some honorable mentions? Which one you want to go with?
The only honorable mention I'm going to throw in there is Drive, kind of the original Fall Guy. I feel like Fall Guy is like paying homage to Drive because it is Ryan Gosling and there's some good stunt driving in there.
One day on Pick Your Picture, there's going to be Drive or it's going to be the Fall Guy because Ryan Gosling is playing a very similar role.
I think I missed the moment for Drive. I think we've had this conversation, but I went back and watched it. It's good. The music in it inspired our favorite band, but I feel like I just missed the moment. I don't know. I mean, it's good. It just wasn't great. So I didn't want to include it in there, but I feel like this is like an homage to Drive.
Our favorite band, by the way, The Midnight, which John and I will have to sit down in front of some microphones and geek out over at some point, but we have yet to do that. But check out The Midnight if you have not. Our favorite band, hands down. Any other honorable mentions? That's it?
No, but one is a franchise that has a lot.
Oh.
I bet I know what it is.
It's got to be Mission Impossible, right?
Oh, I was thinking James Bond.
Like
Mission Impossible makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I
dude
guess
hangs onto the plane.
Would have come up in your pick your picture. So I'm trying so hard not to say other words that I'm going to get crucified for in the chat.
Yeah,
my mouth for some reason it's not working.
Okay.
Mission Impossible. We just have to figure out which one it is now. Okay. I'm going to guess it's one entry, right?
Yes, there's one I chose.
And it's not the first one.
I'll start talking about Mission Impossible, so I just wrote Mission Impossible.
I'm going to guess that you have chosen Mission Impossible 4.
Mission Impossible 4 is one of the 4. There's 4 stunts I pulled from Mission Impossible. And the reason Mission Impossible is clear number 1 is because Tom Cruise actually does them. And so there's stunts from I think the Fast and the Furious is the best when it comes from a stuff perspective, the explosions, the cars, the safe, all the stuff. Mission Impossible is the best from a, whoa, I can't believe Tom Cruise did that. Like the personal standpoint. Yeah. And I know there's plenty of stunt people involved and even in Mission Impossible, but Tom Cruise is taking it upon himself. I'm just going to do this stuff. And so I'll give him all the credit in the world for doing that, which is why it has to be number 1. So here. All right, so which one? You said the fourth one, which is
said the fourth one.
Ghost Protocol.
Protocol.
So when he's climbing the building
yeah. Yep.
in Ghost Protocol was really, really good. He actually did that. Actually went out there. There's a few scenes that when I watch them, it makes me start like breathing heavy. This is one of them because I'm terrified of heights. And so him
This
out there
is
on
more
building,
terrifying than going on Soarin' or anything like that. Watching this scene on the big screen.
No, you're 100% right. And seeing it on the big screen, I started like hyperventilating. Then there is, let's see, I gotta make sure I have pictures of all these. There is the Halo jump from Fallout.
Yeah.
That's him and Henry Cavill. I just
wow.
did it. I looked at Tyler and I said it.
Wow.
I looked at Tyler and I said it the way he said it. Henry Cavill, when they jump out, Henry Cavill's like,
I've never seen Tyler happier.
I just looked at Tyler and I was like, I'm going to screw this up.
It's been one of those days.
He goes out. I'm also drugged up. He goes out, like gets knocked out, and so Tom Cruise has to like save him. He's actually the bad guy. But it's a good scene. He actually did it. They actually had cameramen filming all that and everything.
It's great.
I don't think I have a picture of it, but the motorbike cliff jump from this past one, it's pretty good.
Overused.
It was overused, and it wasn't as impressive until I watched the behind the scenes, because as promotion for it, they pretty much said, "Hey, look how cool this bike jump is." And once you see all the like little, nitpicky things that go into it, it's like, it's impressive. It's not the best stunt at all that he's done, but it's still impressive that they went through, figured all this stuff out, figured out the science behind it, how the wind was going to react and all that kind of stuff, and pulled it off.
Didn't they get like 6 takes of that, of him jumping the bike?
Yes, and they did a lot of different ones that like had different CGI to it and everything. But this, to me, from Rogue Nation, is the number one stunt that he did, and it's the plane hang, where he's literally hanging on to a door of a plane as the plane takes off and goes on, and it's literally Tom Cruise hanging onto the plane. This is a behind-the-scenes one that was cool to watch too. But you got to give Tom Cruise credit for actually doing all of these stunts and everything. And I honestly was surprised in Dead Reckoning Part 1 because it got nominated for visual effects this year at the Oscars, which Mission Impossible, I understand. But they showed some scenes and how CGI they were, and I was actually surprised how much CGI was actually involved. I know you are looking at Miranda Taint stuff in the chat.
I keep looking down.
Y'all
at
will
the
not
chat.
stop giggling.
It's just everything related to Taint.
Y'all will not stop giggling about it. But I'm trying to look at it and be professional here. But anyway, there's a lot of CGI in that I didn't realize was CGI, and I don't know if it's them realizing we need to cut back a little bit. I don't know if it's him not wanting to do as much or what, but there's a scene where at the end where a train goes over the edge and like they're hanging on. It's him and Haley Atwell, I feel like, and they're like hanging on as the train's falling apart around them. That entire train was CGI, and I'm like, that I feel like that's so anti Mission Impossible. You should actually be hanging from a train. You show me you can actually hang from a train. So anyway, I thought Mission Impossible was the easy choice for number one.
I'm sorry that your list was overshadowed by my commentary today,
Yes,
John.
thanks a lot.
When we republish Lunce's list in the future, this one will have to be scrapped because we can't let this live on for sure. I feel like somehow Ryan Brown got a victory today for his
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Feel like he got validated, and I don't like that very much at all. Appreciate everybody there in the chat that is reminding me of my lowest point here on the show. Guys, it's been a pleasure. This has been a fun time here on The Meltdown, and I can't wait to have almost everybody back tomorrow for Friday's episode except for Jeff. Jeff, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
I hope this won't be your last time.
Absolutely not. I had a great time.
You'll have to come back and see us.
How great
All right,
is
I'll
Fast
do
and the Furious?
It is the best.
I know, right?
Okay. John, one thing that's way better than Fast and the Furious, that is our title sponsor, MyBookie.
MyBookie.ag. Use promo code next round. You see it right here on the bottom. Well, I just moved off. Actually, I just realized Tyler has the wrong graphic up from before. Let me just switch that. I just realized it's the wrong one. MyBookie, promo code next round, because it didn't have the promo code. Right there, promo code next round there. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere.
Somebody's still got to pick up this contract that's been ripped up and thrown all over the floor.
It ain't going to be me.
You can bet on the Preds, who are still alive, coming back to Nashville. You can bet on Tim Stars and Mavs, which are up in their series as well. You can bet on anything you want to there. Major League Baseball, soccer, You can bet on the Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend as well. I've already made my bets there at mybookie.ag, promo code next round.
We appreciate you being here with us on The Meltdown. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us. It really does help. And if you have not yet already, make sure you are subscribed here to the channel. Lots of fun stuff coming your way for sure. Going to try to make sure we have a Fall Guy review for you here on the channel, along with that Alien Retro review next week. It'll be happening right here on The Meltdown. See you again tomorrow for the Fun Friday edition of the show, as we're here at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern.